A Barcelona legend just exposed a secret phone call that ended his career in 40 seconds. The real reason Pep Guardiola betrayed his top scorer will shock you. Stick until the end to see the forbidden footage of the player who got revenge by winning the Champions League against his own team. This changes everything. Samuel Eto'o had been the kind of striker who made defenders pray for rain, the kind who thrived on the big stage, the kind whose goals didn't just count, they defined seasons. In Barcelona's late 2000s golden age, his boots carved victories that led to league titles and 2 Champions League triumphs. He was a predator in the penalty area, a man whose hunger for goals rivaled his hunger for respect. And yet, when Pep Guardiola arrived as manager, the air between them was laced with tension from the very beginning. Guardiola came in with a vision, one that demanded control over every blade of grass, every player's movement, every heartbeat of the team. His idea of reshaping Barcelona meant parting with icons, and he made it known that Eto'o, Ronaldinho, and Deco were not part of his future. It wasn't a whisper, it was a statement of authority, a manager drawing a line in the sand. For many, that line would have been the end. But Samuel Eto'o was not many. He refused to bend, even turning down a lucrative move to Uzbekistan that would have padded his bank account, but stripped him of the fight he still wanted to give in Europe. He stayed and scored 36 goals in a historic treble season, each one a reminder that he wasn't finished, that his boots still had stories to tell. But in Guardiola's world, goals were not enough if they came from a man who challenged his methods. There were training ground confrontations, moments when Guardiola would halt a session to demonstrate to Eto'o how a striker should move, an insult to a man who had been living inside penalty boxes since childhood, who had scored on the grandest stages against the fiercest opponents. It was more than a tactical disagreement. It was ego against ego, belief against belief. Eventually, the break came. Barcelona agreed to swap him for Zlatan Ibrahimovic in a deal with Inter Milan. It was meant to be a trade in their favor. It turned out to be the spark that lit Eto'o's fire. Under Mourinho, Inter Milan drew Barcelona in the 2010 Champions League semifinal. In the first leg, Inter struck hard, a 3-1 victory in which Eto'o's fingerprints were all over the goals. But it was the second leg at the Camp Nou that carved itself into football's history. Inter, reduced to 10 men, faced a siege. Eto'o, one of the world's deadliest forwards, was deployed as a right back, tracking runners, throwing himself into tackles, sacrificing every ounce of attacking instinct for the team's survival. They held on, eliminating Barcelona in their own fortress. 2 weeks later, Inter lifted the Champions League trophy. Eto'o didn't just win. He humiliated the man who had thought him expendable. His revenge wasn't in words. It was in the sight of him, once a king of the Camp Nou, now crowned in the colors of another. Years later, another striker who had given his all for Barcelona found himself cast aside in a way that stung as deeply as any defeat. Luis Suarez had fought for Barcelona's badge with goals, with grit, with a fire that made him one of the most feared forwards in Europe. But in 2020, under new coach Ronald Koeman, his time came to an abrupt and cold end. The dismissal came in the form of a phone call. Not a meeting, not a handshake, just a 40-second conversation telling him he was no longer needed. Suarez left the training ground in tears, not just because he was leaving, but because of the way it was done. This was a man who had shared the front line with Lionel Messi, who had broken records and delivered titles, now told his service was over like an afterthought. The insult deepened when Barcelona's answer to his departure was Memphis Depay, a signing that did not match the output, experience, or ruthlessness Suarez had brought. If Barcelona wanted him gone because of wages or age, he might have accepted it. But to send him away like this, and to a direct rival no less, was a wound carved deep. Suarez went to Atletico Madrid, not just to keep playing, but to prove that Barcelona's decision would haunt them. In his first season, he scored 21 goals, including the decisive strike that secured Atletico the league title. As the final whistle blew, tears streamed down his face, but in those tears was triumph. The man they had dismissed with a phone call was now holding the trophy that had eluded them. Somewhere in that celebration, you could almost hear the unspoken message to Koeman and the Barcelona board, who's laughing now. Long before either of those modern riffs, there was Johan Cruyff and the club he had defined, Ajax. Cruyff was more than a player to Ajax. He was a philosophy, a style, a visionary who had shaped their dominance in the 1970s and carried that genius into management. But in 1983, at the age of 36, Ajax refused to renew his contract. To them, his best days were behind him. It was time for him to retire. To Cruyff, it was an insult to everything he had given them. His answer was not to fade quietly. He crossed one of the deepest divides in Dutch football and signed for Feyenoord, Ajax's fiercest rival. Many thought it would be a footnote in his career, a final paycheck before hanging up his boots. Instead, Cruyff led Feyenoord to a league and cup double, proving not only that he still had the mind and skill to dominate, but that Ajax had made a grave error in underestimating him. Only after lifting those trophies did he retire, on his terms, having humbled a club that once worshipped him. But betrayals in football are not limited to managers and contract disputes. Some are etched in transfers that leave fans seething for generations. Few embody this more than Luis Figo's move from Barcelona to Real Madrid in 2000. Figo was adored at the Camp Nou, a talisman whose skill and vision made him the heartbeat of the team. Then came Madrid's courtship, a deal so shocking that when it happened, it felt like the earth shifted. Figo's unveiling at the Santiago Bernabeu was met with applause in Madrid and fury in Barcelona. His return to the Camp Nou in a white shirt brought a torrent of hatred. Banners of betrayal, deafening whistles, and the infamous pig's head thrown onto the pitch. The transfer wasn't just a change of employer. It was crossing a war line, and for many Barca fans, Figo's name remains synonymous with treachery. Robin van Persie's departure from Arsenal to Manchester United in 2012 carried a different kind of sting. He had worn the captain's armband, spoken of loyalty, carried the team through seasons of struggle. But when United came calling, offering not just a lucrative deal, but the promise of titles, Van Persie took it. Arsenal fans felt abandoned, as though their leader had walked out on them when they needed him most. To twist the turn, Van Persie fired United to Premier League title in his first season, scoring with the freedom of a man unburdened by past allegiances. His decision was framed as ambition, but for those in North London, it was a betrayal that still lingers in chants and jeers. For Tottenham Hotspur fans, the summer of 2001 delivered their own unforgivable chapter when Sol Campbell crossed the city to join Arsenal on a free transfer. Campbell had been Spurs captain, a symbol of the club, and his decision to join their fiercest rivals without a transfer fee was seismic. The move brought him success, 2 league titles and 3 FA Cups with Arsenal. But at White Hart Lane, his name became a curse. The abuse was relentless, his every return met with venom, a reminder that in football, crossing certain lines changes everything. Carlos Tevez' path from Manchester United to Manchester City in 2009 was laced with drama and a marketing campaign that poured fuel on the fire. Welcome to Manchester blared from billboards as City flaunted their capture of United's energetic forward. Tevez had been a key part of United's success, but tensions over playing time and contracts led him to switch allegiances to their noisy neighbors. The image of him lifting trophies in sky blue while United fans seethed became an enduring symbol of the shifting power in Manchester. Then came Fernando Torres' departure from Liverpool to Chelsea in 2011. Torres had been the darling of Anfield, the striker whose pace and precision made him a cop hero. But when Chelsea's offer came on deadline day, Torres pushed the move, chasing trophies that Liverpool couldn't promise at the time. His transfer fee shattered British records, but in Liverpool, his legacy fractured overnight. Chelsea got a player who struggled to recapture his peak form, but Torres did win trophies in London, including the Champions League, while Liverpool endured years of rebuilding. These betrayals, whether in boardroom decisions, managerial coldness, or transfers that ripped at the fabric of loyalty, share a common thread. They are moments when football's romantic notions collide with its brutal realities. Samuel Eto'o's shift from king to outcast, Luis Suarez's humiliation turned triumph, Johan Cruyff's parting act of defiance, Luis Figo's crossing of an eternal divide, Robin van Persie's captain's armband traded for medals, Sol Campbell's walk across the North London battlefield, Carlos Tevez' colors change in the same city, Fernando Torres' sudden turn from hero to deserter. Each is a story where passion meets pride, and loyalty is tested to breaking point. In the stands, fans see betrayal and feel the wound as though it were personal. On the pitch, players see opportunity, respect, or revenge. In boardrooms, numbers and strategies erase sentiment. But football never forgets. The chants, the boos, the banners, the pigs' heads, the silent glares. They are part of the sport's living memory, etched into its rivalries, its narratives, its very identity. In the end, perhaps that is why these moments endure. Because in a game built on loyalty, nothing burns brighter or longer than the fire of betrayal. Which of these betrayals do you think cut the deepest in football history? Do you see them as ambition or pure treachery? And which modern player's loyalty do you believe could one day snap in the same way? Share your thoughts in the comments, and make sure you subscribe for more untold football sagas.